You're looking live at Times Square. That was Times Square. We're in Times Square at the NASDAQ market site. We're covering this election night, 2004. Take a look at this. Dan Mangiardo, the Democratic candidate for the U.S. Senate from Kentucky. We have not projected who's going to win this race. We're getting one report that he may be prepared to concede. We'll actually listen to hear what he has to say, but this has been a surprisingly close race. Dan Mangiardo, the Democratic candidate for the United States Senate, running against Jim Bunning, the Hall of Fame pitcher. Let's take a look at the actual vote in Kentucky. Here it is. Jim Bunning with 51% of the vote, 49% of the vote from Dan Mangiardo, with 99% of the vote now in. Jim Bunning, the incumbent, and there's not much of a spread there, Jeff Greenfield, but we'll continue to watch and see what happens.
Well, it's an 18,000 vote spread for Bunning, 2% of the vote, but if you look down below, you see that 99% of the vote is in. And that must be what persuaded State Senator Mangiardo to go and concede. It is a disappointment to the Democrats because once the stories began to be publicized about Senator Bunning's conduct, they really thought this was one of those surprise things. Nobody had it on anybody's radar, and suddenly the race tightened. They thought maybe in our march to 50 or 51 seats in the Senate, this will be one that we didn't expect to win that they did. They haven't. This
is a Senate race that was very, very close, Carlos, in a state like Kentucky where the presidential contest, I don't think, was very close.
And we're seeing that in a lot of different places. This is also, by the way, the second time in a row where Jim Bunning's had a race that if he does win, he wins by 1%, maybe 2%. Contrast that, by the way, with Nevada, which we just called for Harry Reid 6 years ago. He also had a 1% election. Now we're calling it this early that he's won. So very different stories.
Pretty safe to say the Republicans are going to keep control of the Senate.
Well, you know, how about after 2000 we just wait? We haven't seen what's going to happen in Colorado. We haven't seen Alaska. We haven't called South or North Carolina yet, I believe.
We did call South Carolina.
Okay.
Inez Tenenbaum is going to go down to Jim.
What we can say is it makes it very, very unlikely.
You know, two other...
Okay, that's good.
How about that? All right. Let me put it in a way that
I'm just asking.
You would understand that in your old days. You're all in and you're hoping for the river card to give you a flush.
You know, two other interesting things, though, about these Senate races are worth remembering. We talked about Barack Obama, but he may not be the only minority member to join the Senate this year. You might also see one or maybe two Hispanics. Mel Martinez in Florida, Ken Salazar is running in Colorado. We don't know what's going to happen, but if either or both wins, it'll be the first time in almost 30 years you've had a Hispanic member of the U.S. Senate.
All right, a lot of drama still unfolding. I want to walk over. Our Deborah Farrick is joining us now. She's in Pennsylvania, in Harrisburg. There's been some concern about what's going on there, Deborah. I know you've been speaking with election officials, the Secretary of State. Update our viewers what's going on.
Well, we can tell you, Wolf, that people in Pennsylvania are still waiting to vote. We are told that in Berks County, 8 to 10 precincts still experiencing about 2 hour delays. The Board of Elections there sent out a number of people to help facilitate. They're sorting people out in alphabetical order right now. We are told there was a huge registration drive there, a large burgeoning Latino population. So right now they're still waiting to vote in Berks County. In Chester County, also one precinct, we are being told there are 300 people remaining online waiting to cast a ballot. Now, in at least several counties, judges did have to step in, both in Allegheny County and in Lackawanna County. In Allegheny County, they simply ran out of provisional ballots. So a judge extended voting by up to an hour and a half at one polling site, saying that anybody who still wanted to vote could do so, and as long as they were online by 9:30, they could cast a provisional ballot. In Lackawanna, we are told a judge extended voting at 2 different precincts. In one reason, because a polling site simply opened late by an hour and 7 minutes, so the judge extended voting for an hour and 7 minutes. In one case, in another case, a machine broke, so the voting was extended there. Now, there are an estimated 300 provisional ballots. Those ballots will be verified over the next 3 days. Counting will begin on Friday, so those ballots could make a difference. There is one outstanding court challenge in Philadelphia. Absentee ballots will not be counted tonight. A judge stepped in and said that the ballots would not be counted. The reason for that, the Republicans are in court fighting to look at the absentee lists and challenge any voters who they think may have registered as an absentee improperly. So right now, voting still going on in Pennsylvania, even though the polls officially closed at 8 o'clock. Wolf?
Deborah Farrick, thanks very much. Let me just show our viewers the numbers that we have in Pennsylvania, with slightly more than half of the vote now in. The precincts reporting 54%. John Kerry seems to have a pretty good lead there, 59% for John Kerry to 40% for George W. Bush. Once again, let's bring in CNN's Aaron Brown, is looking at this, analyzing it, assessing it, and got some thoughts.
Well, we were thinking a bit about civility. It's something we've talked a lot about on the program. We've long lamented the coming of the day when nobody will even listen to, let alone entertain, an idea different from their own. We're more than halfway there already, it seems. Part of the passion animating this campaign derived from the idea of taking the country back from them, or by the same token, keeping it out of their hands, whoever they and them might be. A viewer of ours and a frequent emailer wrote tonight that if the Democrats win, it'll only because they committed massive voter fraud. It just never occurred to her that in the field of ideas, they might just have won. With that in mind, a blogger, Jeff Jarvis, posted this pledge on his website. After the election results are in, it goes, I promise to support the president, even if I didn't vote for him. Criticize the president, even if I did vote for him. Uphold standards of civil discourse in blogs and in the media while pushing both to be better. Unite as a nation, putting country over party, even as we work together to make America better. Given how little we agree on as a country these days, maybe it's too much to ask, but ask yourself this tonight. Isn't anything better than what we call political discourse these days?
Aaron, you know, it's fascinating that, 3.5 hours after the first polls closed, this is as close as we thought it was going to be in the days and weeks leading up to this election night. Some people are saying you're hyping it, you're going too far. You know what? It's as dramatic as we thought it was going to be.
We looked at polls Sunday night. We came in to do a special on Sunday night, and our CNN USA Today Gallup poll had the thing at 49-49. That's about where we are.
It's amazing, Larry, that it's shaping up the way we actually thought it would shape up.
Yeah, they read it. It looks like they read it right.
But by the same token, we don't yet know. There's these four big puzzle pieces still out there. What's going to happen in Florida? What's going to happen in Ohio? What's going to happen in Pennsylvania? How is Michigan going to play out? Those are a lot of electoral votes that are going to change the map pretty quickly, if and when they come in.
And as important as that general vote, that popular vote is, it's the electoral vote that's all important.
Aren't we discouraged, though, that we may have to wait till Thursday on absentee ballots in two states?
Aaron and I and everybody will wait until it's over, because that's the nature of the business.
Not as discouraged as we'll be if we have to wait for a month from Thursday. We've been there and done that, too.
35, 36 days the last time. Aaron, thanks very much. Joe Lockhart, a senior advisor to the Kerry campaign, is joining us now from Washington. Give us your read on what's going on in some specific states, for example. Let's take a look at Florida. What do you see happening in Florida, Joe?
Very close race. We knew it would be close, but I think the huge turnout in southern Florida, where the Democrats are the strongest, Broward, Palm Beach, Miami-Dade, that turnout will bring us to victory. I think those are the last ones reporting in. I've heard reports that there are people still voting based on the length of the lines. So I think this unprecedented turnout in Florida, the unprecedented effort to get people registered and then out to the polls, 30% of the state voting early with a big lead for John Kerry, I think that'll take us over the line.
Joe, that the votes not yet counted are Dade and Broward?
Yeah, we know that in Broward County, where we have, I think, somewhere in the range of a 200,000 vote lead, you still have a quarter of the votes yet to be counted. Palm Beach County has just started to vote. Miami, we're still waiting to hear from. So these are the big vote areas for Democrats in the state. They're not yet factored in. I think once they are, we'll be very strong in Florida.
What about Ohio?
Listen, Ohio, I think, looks again very strong for us. The story of Ohio this time is not what people expected, the legal challenges every place. It's the massive turnout. We have a report of one polling station in Columbus, Ohio, that's now projected to stay open until midnight. There's so many people that were online when the polls closed. I think everyone agreed going into this election that the larger the turnout, the better it would be for John Kerry. There's no other place that I think that's going to be as significant as Ohio. All of our numbers tell us in heavily Democratic precincts, we are exceeding our expectations by 10 to 15%. Ohio will be in our column tonight.
three Midwestern states that are potentially could be pivotal: Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. What do you see happening there?
Well, listen, I think President Bush put a lot of effort into those three states. I think about 3 or 4 weeks ago, he decided that Ohio was difficult for him. He didn't go to Ohio for 3 weeks. Spent all of his time in those three states. But I think we're going to win all three. I think Minnesota, it'll be a comfortable victory. Wisconsin, we fought hard for. I think we're well on our way there based on our projections and our turnout. And Iowa was the toughest one for us. So we were behind a week ago. But we started to surge late last week. I think we took the lead this weekend according to our numbers and the Des Moines Register poll, and we have an incredible ground game there, and I think that's going to give us a couple points, so I think we'll sweep the three.
Are you therefore saying, Joe, you're going to win tonight?
I think we've been saying for the last week we were going to win. We expect that to be confirmed tonight.
Why haven't we heard from Senator Kerry yet? We heard briefly, as you saw, from President Bush. Will he make some sort of statement in advance of any final outcome?
Well, we'll see. I mean, the night is young. I think you all can stay up for a little while longer. You've had some practice at that. I don't know what the president was doing all afternoon, but John Kerry was working. He did 4 hours worth of interviews, 38 different interviews with local TV stations in battleground states. That's 38 interviews without a break. He went home, took a little rest. Now he's having dinner with his wife and some of his family members. And, he'll come out when we've got something to say.
Do the question about these absentee ballots in Florida and Pennsylvania concern you, that we may have to wait till Thursday to find the results in both of those states?
I don't think so. Certainly not in Pennsylvania. I don't think the state is going to be that close. I think if you look at the numbers now, John Kerry's got a very healthy lead. We had an overwhelming majority and great turnout in Philadelphia. Did well in Pittsburgh and other parts of the state. So I don't think the absentee ballots are going to be a problem there. My understanding of the absentee ballots in Florida is the area that they're talking about is the heavily Democratic area. So I don't really think they're going to be an issue there either.
Joe Lockhart, thanks very much for spending a few moments with us. Joe Lockhart, a senior advisor to the Kerry campaign. Bill Hemmer is watching all of this. He's got an interesting analysis from our spatial logic machine that's looking at these two battleground states of Ohio and Florida. And what do you see? Explain to our viewers what's going on, Bill.
We have some excellent technology, Wolf, that literally allows us to watch as the votes come in, how it breaks down according to counties in favor of George Bush or in favor of John Kerry. We've zeroed in on about 18 different states across the country, but as you mentioned, Ohio and Florida still outstanding and still so critical and so crucial for the fight for the White House. Back to Stu Rothenberger with me here, our CNN political analyst, and good evening again, Stu. We want to show our viewers through the telestrator what we're picking up in Ohio and essentially why we cannot call this state at this point.
Well, if you look at the map, Bill, you can see a lot of red in the central part of the state, northwestern part of the state, but we want to hone in on three areas. Hamilton County, that's Cincinnati. Down here in Montgomery County, this little island of blue and a sea of red, that's Dayton, Montgomery County. And then up here in the northeast, that would be Stark, Canton. That's often described as a bellwether county. And what we see is John Kerry doing better in these three counties. At this point, with some limited results in, he's doing better than Al Gore did 4 years ago. The president is still doing fine in many of these rural areas, but it's the smaller cities, and in this case, Hamilton County, which is Cincinnati and a suburb, a significant percentage of the population in the state, that the Democrat is doing better.
We have also talked about the job loss in Ohio for many, many months. In Lorain County, west of Cleveland, we have used this as an example, too, with job losses there, how they would respond. What are you finding in that suburban area west of Cleveland?
If we go to the map and look at Lorain, this is west of Cuyahoga County, west of Cleveland. Al Gore won this county with 53%, and with partial results in now in Lorain, John Kerry is winning with 57% of the vote. It's only at the margins, but if Senator Kerry increases his margins in a number of these communities, he can certainly carry the state.
But again, just simply too close to call with 20 electoral votes in the balance there in the Buckeye
State. There were more votes to come in.
Indeed, you're right about that. In Florida now, it was about 2.5 hours ago when we first reported the trend we saw in the I-4 corridor. This is named because it's the interstate that runs from Tampa up through Orlando up to the Daytona Beach area. We saw heavy gains for the president as compared to the year 2000 from 4 years ago, and we can show that.
We did, and let's go to the map again, and I think we were right in this I-4 corridor. Osceola Lake, Orange County, some blue, but a good deal of red, particularly in here. And as you pointed out, we have not projected this state because of this area down here that Joe Lockhart has talked about. This